The starship Aurora Dawn drifted through deep space like a silver arrow, cutting across a sea of darkness. Inside, the crew moved quietly, following the calm but firm voice of their commander, Rian. He was a man known not for his power, but for his focus. His eyes were always searching, not for victory but for answers. Their mission was clear. The Earth Federation had sent them to explore an uncharted world, hidden behind layers of electric storms. The planet's name in the ancient star records was Valora, but it had been marked as a no-entry zone by several alien networks. Ships that approached too close vanished from all scans. For decades, no one dared to go near, but humans had never been good at turning back. Curiosity was a fire they could never control. "Commander, we are entering the outer storm field," said Lena, the ship's navigator. Her hands moved over the glowing controls. The screen showed streaks of lightning dancing across a glowing blue atmosphere. Electromagnetic levels rising fast. "If we go any closer, our shields will start breaking." Rian watched the screen silently. "Keep us steady," he said. "We go in slow. Let the planet show us what it's hiding." The crew exchanged nervous looks. They trusted their commander, but everyone felt the same unease. The storm looked alive. Every flash of lightning looked like eyes watching them. Minutes later, the ship broke through the last layer of storm. The noise vanished. Silence filled the cabin. Outside the window spread a breathtaking view, a world bathed in silver light. Giant trees with glowing leaves covered vast lands. Rivers shimmered like glass. The clouds above formed slow waves of energy. "It's beautiful," whispered Taryn, the engineer. "But why does a place like this need a warning label?" Ryan said nothing. He simply stared. His instincts told him there was something powerful down there, something ancient. "Prepare landing," he ordered. "We find out the truth." When the ship touched the soft, glowing ground, the air itself seemed to hum with energy. The soil shimmered faintly under their boots. Every breath tasted fresh and electric, like breathing lightning. They stepped out with scanners ready. No life signs nearby, no cities, no signals. Only the forest, tall, luminous, and silent. It felt sacred, like walking inside a dream. But then the silence broke. From between the trees, beams of white light shot upward. Shapes appeared, tall figures dressed in silver armor that looked alive. Their eyes glowed softly. They carried staffs that pulsed with quiet power. Ryan raised his hand, signaling his team to stay calm. One of the figures stepped forward. Her presence was commanding yet graceful. Her voice carried through the air, echoing like distant thunder. "You do not belong here," she said. "This place is forbidden to your kind." Her name, though they did not know it yet, was Queen Alara. Rian took a small step forward. "We come in peace," he said carefully. "We are explorers from Earth. We didn't know anyone lived here." The Queen's expression did not change. Her glowing eyes studied him as if looking through his soul. "Humans," she said slowly. "I have heard stories of your kind. You chase knowledge without limits. You break the balance wherever you walk." Her words were not angry, but filled with an old sadness. The guards raised their staffs slightly. "A warning," Rian stayed calm. "We mean no harm. If we've crossed a line, we can leave. But please let us understand why it is forbidden." For a long moment she did not answer. The light from her armor dimmed and brightened like breathing. Then with a wave of her hand she turned away. "Follow me," she said. "You will see what should not be seen." They followed her through the glowing forest. The path wound between giant trees that seemed to whisper softly as they passed. The deeper they went, the brighter the air became, until they reached a great clearing. In the center stood a structure made of crystal and metal, shaped like a flower reaching toward the sky. Energy flowed through it like liquid light. It was beautiful and terrifying at once. "This," said the Queen, turning toward them, "is the heart core of Valora. It keeps our world alive. It connects every life, every tree, every storm. It is not a machine. It is the soul of this planet." Ryan stared in awe. "Incredible," he whispered. "A living power source." Ilara looked at him sharply. "Power is what destroyed the last ones who came here. They tried to take from the heart core. The core judged them unworthy. It buried their ships and silenced their voices. That is why your kind was forbidden to return." Her words hung heavy in the air. The crew exchanged uneasy glances. Ryan, however, stepped closer. The crystal's light reflected in his eyes. "I understand the danger," he said, "but we didn't come to take. We came to learn." Alara tilted her head slightly. Learning leads to wanting. Wanting leads to taking. It is the same path always. Rian smiled faintly. Not always. Sometimes learning leads to change. For the first time, her gaze softened just a little. There was something strange about this human. Not arrogance, but quiet strength. Later that evening, the queen allowed them to set camp near the edge of the forest under the condition that they would not go near the hardcore again. The air grew cooler and the forest glowed like starlight. Ryan sat by the campfire thinking about the queen's words. He could still feel the strange energy of the planet beneath him, pulsing like a heartbeat. It was alive, truly alive, but more than that, he couldn't forget the look in Alara's eyes. Ancient, wise, but tired. It was as if she carried the weight of her world alone. Taryn came over, handing him a datapad. Scans show this planet's energy waves match no known pattern. It's not just light or heat. It reacts to movement, even to sound. Ryan nodded. Or maybe to emotion, he said quietly. Lena frowned. Emotion? You think it feels? Maybe, Ryan replied. If the planet has a living core, it might sense what lives upon it. Maybe that's why the Queen fears us. Humans carry emotion stronger than any other species. Maybe our hearts could disturb its balance. Taryn gave a small laugh. You're starting to sound like a philosopher, Commander. Ryan smiled faintly. Maybe that's what this place does to you. As night deepened, the crew went to rest inside the ship, but Ryan couldn't sleep. The strange hum in the air kept calling to him. He walked out of the ship quietly and followed the light of the forest. The path seemed to open by itself, guiding him to a calm lake that reflected the twin moons above. And there, standing by the water, was the Queen. She did not turn when he approached. Her voice was soft when she spoke. You should not be here. I couldn't sleep, he said. This world is too alive for silence. For a moment, neither spoke. Only the sound of the gentle waves filled the air. Finally, she said, You humans are curious, brave, and foolish. Your kind once came to Valora before. They touched what they should not have touched. It almost destroyed everything. Ryan looked at her reflection in the water. Then why allow us to land at all? Because, she said quietly, something in the hardcore changed when your ship entered the sky. It reacted. It glowed brighter than it has in centuries. I need to understand why. She turned toward him, her eyes glowing faintly in the moonlight. Tell me, human, what do you seek among the stars? Rian took a breath. Not control, not conquest. We seek meaning. We look for places that remind us we are still small, that we still have something to learn. Her gaze softened again, and for a brief moment, she looked less like a ruler and more like someone who understood loneliness. You speak unlike the others, she said, but you must leave soon. My council will not allow your presence. If they discover you here, it will bring conflict. Rian nodded slowly. Then before I leave, let me at least learn what makes your world so alive. Alara hesitated. The silence stretched between them. Then she said, If you wish to understand, come to the temple tomorrow. But what you will see is forbidden to your kind. Rian gave a small nod. Then I will see it with open eyes. As he turned to leave, she watched him for a long time. For the first time in her long life, the Queen of Valora felt something she had not felt in centuries. Curiosity about a human heart. The next morning, the air over Valora shimmered with soft blue light. The twin suns rose slowly above the glowing forest, their rays passing through crystal trees and scattering colors in every direction. Commander Rian stood outside the ship, looking toward the horizon. He could feel something in the air, something that felt alive, like the planet was watching him. He had not told his crew what the Queen had said the night before. If he did, they would try to stop him. But deep inside, he knew this was something he had to do himself. There was a truth here that could change everything humans knew about life beyond the stars. Ryan walked down the crystal path that led to the temple. Each step echoed softly as if the planet whispered beneath his boots. When he reached the entrance, the tall silver gates opened on their own. Inside stood Queen Alara, waiting. She looked the same as before, calm, graceful, but her eyes showed a strange emotion he couldn't read. The light from the temple walls reflected across her silver gown like living water. You came, she said quietly, even when you knew it was forbidden. Ryan gave a faint smile. You invited me. I only followed your words, her lips curved slightly, almost a smile. You humans always find a way to twist rules into courage. She turned and began to walk deeper into the temple. Ryan followed. The air was filled with a low melodic hum that came from the walls themselves. Every step seemed to pull him closer to something powerful. At the center of the great hall stood a massive crystal sphere floating above the ground. It pulsed with slow, steady light like the rhythm of a heart. The energy inside it moved in soft waves of blue and white. This, said Alara, is the heart core. It connects every living thing on Valora. The forests, the rivers, even our thoughts, and all flow through it. Ryan stared in wonder. It's beautiful. I've never seen energy like this. It is not energy, she said softly. It is life itself. It feels, it remembers, it loves, but it also punishes when balance is broken. He looked at her. You mean it thinks? In its own way, she said. It reacts to emotion. When anger or greed touches it, it grows unstable. That is what happened when your kind first came here long ago. The humans who arrived then wanted to study the core. But when they touched it with selfish intent, the core struck back. Entire lands fell silent that day. It is why my ancestors wrote the law of distance. No human shall touch Valora again. Ryan lowered his gaze. Then my being here is already breaking that law. Yes, she said, and still I let you in. He met her eyes. Why? Alara looked away. For the first time, her calm voice carried uncertainty. Because something inside the core changed when your ship entered orbit. It sang again after centuries of silence. It responded to your arrival. I do not know why. She walked closer to the glowing sphere and placed her hand near it. The light pulsed brighter as if greeting her. The core senses truth, she said. It reacts to hearts, not to words. Perhaps it feels something in you. Ryan stepped closer, the light reflecting in his eyes. May I? She looked at him sharply. No, the core does not forgive easily. If it feels even one wrong thought, it will burn your mind. He nodded slowly. Then tell me what you want from me. Alara studied him carefully. I want to understand your people. You say humans seek knowledge, not control. Yet history shows the opposite. You build, then you take. You search, then you conquer. Why do you do this? Ryan thought for a moment before answering. Because we are afraid of being forgotten. Every human wants to leave something behind to prove we existed. Sometimes it makes us do wrong things, but it also makes us fight for good things. It is both our weakness and our strength. Ilara's eyes softened. To live in fear and still reach for light, that is strange. Maybe, he said quietly. But that is what keeps us moving. She turned away for a moment, her expression unreadable. Then she said, You speak with honesty, but honesty alone will not save you. The council has already sensed my actions. They will come soon. They will not let you leave alive if they believe you touched the core. Ryan frowned. Then let me go before they arrive. I don't want to bring harm to you. Her eyes met his again, filled with quiet conflict. It is not that simple. The core has already linked to your ship. If you leave now, the connection will tear the balance apart. Valora could fall into silence again. Then what should we do? She hesitated, then said, You must stay, at least until I can calm the core. Perhaps your presence will stabilize it, but I need to be certain. Ryan nodded. Then I will stay. Ilara turned away, walking toward the glowing sphere. There is something else you must see, she said. Follow me. They walked through another chamber where tall glass columns glowed faintly. Inside each column floated shapes, memories stored in light. They showed visions of cities that once stood on Valora, filled with laughter and song. Then came images of fire and storm, followed by silence. These are memories of the fall, Alara said softly. Your kind called it an experiment. We call it the Great Betrayal. Ryan watched silently. The images showed humans working beside Valari, building together, smiling. Then the core flared bright and everything changed. Cities crumbled. Light faded. The humans vanished, he spoke quietly. We destroyed what we didn't understand. Ilara nodded slowly. And we have lived with that fear ever since. We isolated ourselves, believing silence was safety. But now the core wakes again, and I do not know if that is hope or warning. She turned to him. When you look at these memories, what do you feel? Ryan looked at the images for a long time. I feel sorrow, he said. But I also feel promise. Maybe this is a second chance for your people and mine. Her eyes softened again. And for the first time she smiled, not as a queen, but as someone who understood. You speak like someone who carries too many burdens, she said. I do. he admitted. Every explorer carries them. We never know if we bring peace or danger. Ilara looked down, her expression thoughtful. You are unlike the others. Perhaps the Corps was right to call to you. Hours passed as Ilara guided him through the temple, showing him symbols carved in crystalline walls that told stories of old alliances. He listened, asked questions, and shared stories of Earth, of oceans, of cities filled with music and color, of people who dreamed of stars. For every word he spoke, her eyes seemed to grow warmer. By the time they reached the outer chamber again, the suns were setting. The light turned golden and shadows danced across the temple floor. Ryan stopped near the entrance and turned to her. You said it was forbidden for me to be here, he said softly. Yet you've shown me everything. Ilara's expression turned distant. Because I needed to see for myself what kind of human you were. The Corps does not lie, but hearts can. I had to know if your courage came from wisdom or pride. And what did you find? She looked at him for a long moment. I found both. But perhaps that is what makes you human. They stood in silence as the glow faded. For a brief moment, the heavy distance between alien and human felt smaller, as if the world itself was holding its breath. Finally, she spoke again. Tomorrow the council will arrive. They will demand your departure. If you resist, they will destroy your ship. But if you stay silent, I may protect you. You must trust me, Ryan nodded slowly. I do. She looked at him carefully, her voice soft but steady. Then promise me one thing. No matter what happens tomorrow, do not touch the Corps. He met her gaze. I promise. She studied him for a moment longer, then turned to leave. As she walked away, the light around her flickered, reflecting her hidden thoughts. Ryan watched her go, feeling a strange mix of respect and something deeper he couldn't name. The temple grew quiet again. The hum of the Corps filled the air, steady and strong like the heartbeat of a living being. Ryan stood there alone, staring at the glowing walls. He didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but one thing was clear. Valora was more than a world. It was alive, and somehow it had chosen him. The morning light returned to Valora with quiet beauty. The air shimmered as soft energy waves moved across the glowing forest. Commander Ryan stood outside the temple gates waiting. He could feel tension rising in the air, as if the entire planet knew something important was about to happen. The Queen's words echoed in his mind. Tomorrow the council will arrive. He looked toward the horizon where a fleet of silver ships appeared like falling stars. They glided silently through the sky until they hovered above the temple. Their engines did not make sound, only light that flickered like fireflies. From the main vessel descended 6 tall figures wearing shining armor and long white cloaks. Their faces were calm but cold. The leader of the group, High Counselor Moran, walked forward with a staff that glowed at its tip. His eyes were like blue glass, emotionless and sharp. Queen Ilara stepped out of the temple with calm grace. Her expression was unreadable, but her hands were clasped behind her back. She looked every bit the ruler of Valora, strong yet silent. When the counselors approached, she bowed her head slightly in respect, though she did not kneel. Queen Ilara of Valora, Marin said in a deep, echoing voice, you have broken the law of distance. You have allowed a human to enter sacred ground. Do you deny this? I do not, she answered. I allowed him entry under my command. Gasps spread through the gathered guards and attendants. The air around them pulsed softly, reacting to the emotions filling the space. Marin's tone grew harsh. You know the punishment for such an act. No ruler has ever ignored this law since the Great Betrayal. Why would you risk everything for a creature that does not belong here? Ilara looked at Rian, then back at the council. Because the Corps called to him, she said. It awakened the moment his ship entered our sky. For the first time in centuries, it sang. I had to understand why. Moran's eyes narrowed. The Corps responds to chaos. It responds to danger. His presence here is a threat, not a blessing. Ryan took a step forward. I did not come here to harm your world. I came only to learn and to understand. The High Counselor turned to him slowly. Human words are easy to speak. Your kind once said the same before they burned our skies. Ryan kept his voice calm. Then let me prove you wrong, the council murmured among themselves. Marin lifted his staff. You are not allowed to address this assembly without permission. You are a trespasser. But Queen Ilara raised her hand. He has my permission, she said firmly. Her voice echoed through the air, filled with quiet strength. If I have broken the law, then I accept judgment. But you will hear the reason before you decide. Marin frowned, but he nodded. Speak then. Alara stepped forward. We have lived in silence and fear for too long. Our ancestors made laws to protect us, but those laws have turned into cages. The core is not angry. It is waiting. It remembers the bond that once existed between our worlds. The humans were not meant to be our enemies. Perhaps they were meant to be our balance. Her words caused a ripple of reaction among the guards and counselors. Some looked shocked, others uncertain. Marin, however, remained unmoved. You speak as if you have forgotten the pain they brought us, he said coldly. You speak of balance, but you invite danger. The core may have sung, but it does not choose for us. You are blinded by curiosity, Alara. You are no longer fit to rule. A quiet gasp spread through the hall. Even Rian felt the weight of those words. The queen, however, did not flinch. If protecting truth removes my crown, she said softly, then let it fall. Moran turned to the guards. Take the human to the holding chamber. The queen will face her trial when the sun set. The guards stepped forward. Rian could see hesitation in their movements. None wanted to harm their queen's guest, but they feared the council's command. He raised his hands peacefully. I'll go, he said calmly. I don't want to cause more trouble. As they led him away, he looked back. Ilara's eyes met his for a brief moment. No words were spoken, but her gaze said everything. Stay strong. This is not the end. The holding chamber was quiet and cold. Its walls glowed with dim blue light. Ryan sat on the floor deep in thought. He had seen fear before and in battles and disasters, but this fear was different. It was the fear of truth being buried. He thought of the core, the way it pulsed like a living being. He thought of the queen's courage, her willingness to challenge her own people. For the first time since he had left Earth, Ryan felt something greater than duty. He felt connection. After some time, the door slid open silently. A young Valari guard entered carrying a small light crystal. His voice was nervous when he spoke. Commander Ryan, the Queen sent me. She asks that you listen carefully. The Council plans to remove her from the throne tonight. They will shut down the core to erase all traces of your arrival. Ryan stood up sharply. Shut it down? Can they do that? The guard nodded. They can, but it is dangerous. If the core's flow is interrupted, the planet will suffer. Energy storms will rise again. Then we have to stop them, Ryan said. The guard looked afraid. You cannot fight the Council. Their power is ancient. Then we find another way, Ryan said firmly. Can you take me to her? The guard hesitated, but finally nodded. Follow me. They moved through narrow tunnels beneath the temple. The walls hummed with faint energy, and strange lights flickered as they passed. When they reached a hidden chamber, Ryan saw Ilara standing before a wide crystal window. She turned when she heard him enter. You should not be here, she said softly. The Council will destroy you if they find out. They will destroy Valora if they silence the core, he said. I won't let that happen. Her eyes met his. You are human. You cannot stop them. Maybe, Rian said, but humans are known for trying the impossible. For a long moment she said nothing. Then a faint smile appeared on her lips. You speak with a heart that even the core might respect. Ryan stepped closer. Tell me what to do. She looked toward the glowing window. The Council will enter the Chamber of Harmony to cut the core's flow. The only way to stop them is to stabilize the energy field, but only one who carries the mark of the planet can do that. Then let me try. She shook her head. You are not of Valora. The core could reject you. I don't care, he said. If the core called to me, maybe it sees something I don't. Alara looked at him silently. Her eyes shimmered like liquid light. If you fail, the energy will destroy you. He smiled faintly. Then I'll fail trying to save something worth saving. Her voice softened. You remind me of someone I once knew. A human who stood here long ago before the silence. He believed as you do that courage could mend what fear had broken. What happened to him? Ryan asked. She looked away. He touched the core. It ended his life but restored our world for a time. Since then, I have carried the weight of that memory. For a moment, they stood in silence. The hum of the planet surrounded them, steady and calm. Then Alara took a deep breath. Very well. If this is the path the core has chosen, I will stand beside you. As the twin suns began to fade, the great temple filled with light once again, the Council stood before the heart core, ready to sever its flow. Ryan and Alara entered quietly through the lower passage. The guards gasped in shock, but before anyone could react, Ryan raised his voice. "Stop," he said. "You are about to destroy what you swore to protect." Marin turned, fury flashing in his eyes. "You dare interrupt the judgment?" Ryan walked forward, standing between the council and the core. "If you destroy it, this world will fall. You will lose everything your ancestors built." Marin lifted his staff. "You know nothing of our ways." Ilara stepped beside Ryan. "He knows enough to speak truth. The core has awakened because it senses a change in us. If we silence it now, we silence hope itself." The temple walls trembled as the core pulsed with brighter light. The ground beneath them began to shake. Everyone froze as the energy wave spread through the hall. Ilara looked at Ryan. "It is reacting to emotion again. You must stay calm." Ryan nodded and slowly reached his hand toward the core. The light grew stronger, wrapping around his fingers. The council shouted warnings, but Ilara placed her hand on his arm. "Trust yourself," she said softly. The light surged. The walls glowed brighter. For a moment, Ryan felt the heartbeat of the world. He saw flashes of ancient memories of peace and unity between humans and Valari. Then the tremor stopped. The temple fell silent. The core glowed steady again. The danger was gone. The council stood frozen, unable to speak. Marin's eyes widened. "Impossible," he whispered. "A human touched the core and lived." Ilara turned to him. "Perhaps it is time to change what we call impossible." The heart core pulsed steadily now, its blue and white light flowing smoothly through the great chamber. Commander Ryan stepped back and breathed deeply. The air felt lighter, almost as if Valora itself was exhaling. Around them, the temple walls glowed with warmth, reacting to the core's energy. The council, frozen in disbelief, slowly regained their senses. Their eyes moved cautiously between Ryan and Queen Ilara, unsure of what had just occurred. Ilara's voice was calm but carried the weight of centuries. "The core has not punished us," she said softly. "It recognizes that the human's intention was pure. That is something our people have long forgotten, that courage and truth can guide energy, not just fear." Ryan looked at her, surprised. "It accepted me?" "Yes," she said. "It senses hearts, not forms. The core is alive because it responds to life itself, not to species or law. Perhaps it felt your humanity and your honesty." The council murmured among themselves. High Counselor Moran finally spoke, his voice low but stern. "If this is true, then we have been blind for centuries. We believed fear was the only path to safety, but perhaps we have been weak, not wise." Ryan shook his head. "Not weak, just careful. But caution without understanding can be worse than courage. Fear can stop us from learning, from growing." Ilara looked at him, a small smile tugging at the corners of her lips. "You speak as if you have known the core your whole life." "I do not," Ryan said honestly. "But I know what humans are capable of, and I know that sometimes the right thing is the hardest." The core pulsed again softly. The light stretched through the chamber and extended into the forest outside, reaching the rivers, the trees, and even the smallest glowing plants. Valora seemed to breathe with renewed energy. The forest hummed with life. Birds that had remained hidden for centuries took flight, their wings scattering shimmering particles of light across the sky. Ilara turned toward Ryan. "The core has awakened, and so has the world. It will take time for the council to accept this. They have been bound by law and fear for too long." Ryan nodded. "Then we give them time. But what happens next? Will they let you rule freely again?" She shook her head. "Not immediately. They still fear change, but for the first time in centuries they saw that courage and understanding can save more than rules ever could. Perhaps now they will listen." The council stepped forward cautiously. Marin lowered his staff, his expression a mixture of respect and disbelief. "You speak wisely, human," he said. "Perhaps the core has chosen a new way. Perhaps we have been too rigid." Ryan smiled faintly. "It is not about choice. It is about understanding. The core responded because we acted with truth. Fear never awakens anything but silence." Ilara's gaze lingered on Ryan. For a moment, the tension between queen and human eased. There was no law, no council, only the core and the light that spread across Valora. She spoke softly, almost as if confessing to the world itself. "You have changed more than just the core, human. You have reminded me of something long forgotten." Ryan's curiosity grew. "What is that?" She took a deep breath. "That hope, even when forbidden, is stronger than fear." The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long golden rays across the glowing forest. Ryan and Alara walked along a crystalline bridge that extended from the temple into the forest. The core's energy followed them, lighting their path. Small creatures, long hidden in shadows, peeked from between the glowing trees. The rivers reflected the golden light of the twin moons as they rose in the sky. "You have a strange effect on this place," Alara said quietly. "Even the animals seem less afraid. They sense something different." "I am no stranger to strange," Ryan replied with a faint smile. "But I never expected this world to feel alive in this way." Alara stopped and turned to him. Her expression was serious yet gentle. "You speak truthfully, but remember, and this is still forbidden. My people will not accept what we have done here easily." Ryan nodded. "Then we do what humans always do. We act with courage even when the rules say not to." For a moment they stood in silence, listening to the hum of life around them. Then Alara asked softly, "And if the core calls again? If it awakens even more because of you?" Ryan looked at her, steady and calm. "Then we answer. Not for rule or law, but because it is right." Her gaze softened and she gave a faint nod. "You remind me of a time before fear ruled us, before the silence." They continued walking, reaching a crystal plateau overlooking a valley. The valley glowed with soft blue light, and streams of energy flowed like rivers through the land. It was breathtaking, a world untouched by time, now alive again. Ryan took a deep breath. "It is incredible. You have kept this beauty safe for centuries, yet you hid it because of fear." Alara looked at him. "Safety without life is not worth keeping. And now you have reminded me that life is stronger than law, stronger than fear." The core pulsed beneath their feet, a steady heartbeat that seemed to echo the words they shared. It was alive, and it had chosen to accept them. That night the temple was quiet, and the council had retreated to discuss what they had seen. Ryan and Alara remained alone on the crystal bridge, gazing at the forest below. The glowing trees swayed with soft energy, and the rivers sparkled under the twin moons. Alara spoke softly. "You have shown us something humans have always understood but that we have forgotten. That courage, honesty, and understanding can guide power. Perhaps that is why the core responded to you." Ryan turned toward her. "It was not just me. You trusted me. You acted with courage even when the law said not to. That is why the core accepted both of us." Her eyes met his, filled with an unspoken understanding. "It is true. Perhaps it is time to believe in more than rules." For a long moment neither spoke. They simply stood together, watching the energy flow through the valley, feeling the planet's heartbeat. In that moment there was no council, no law, no fear, only life and connection. Ryan felt a strange warmth. It was not just the core or the energy, but something deeper. He realized that in all his travels he had never met anyone like Alara. Her courage, her wisdom, and her strength were unlike anything he had known, and yet she carried a vulnerability he could not ignore. "Alara," he said quietly, "you have done something remarkable. You have reminded your people that life is stronger than fear, and you have reminded me that courage can change worlds." She looked at him, a faint smile on her lips. "And you have reminded me that even humans, though different from us, can carry hearts strong enough to awaken the core." The light around them seemed to shimmer, reacting to the unspoken bond between them. Ryan realized that the core, the planet, and even Alara were all connected in ways he could barely understand. And yet it felt natural. It felt right. Hours later, the twin moons reflected their glow in the rivers below, and the forest hummed softly. The core pulsed with calm energy, steady and bright. Ryan and Alara stood on the crystal bridge, watching the world they had saved together. "This place," Ryan said, "is more alive than I imagined. And you, Queen Alara, are more than anyone could ever expect." She turned to him, her voice quiet but firm. "And you, human, are unlike any I have ever met. Perhaps that is why the core called you here. Perhaps it sensed something more than fear or curiosity. Perhaps it sensed truth." Ryan nodded. "Then we let it guide us together." Ilara's eyes met his, and for the first time there was no law, no council, only the core, the planet, and the connection between them. In that light, the world seemed infinite and the possibilities endless. For the first time in centuries, Valora felt alive in every sense of the word. And for the first time, Ryan felt that humans, though small and fragile, could inspire courage even in worlds that had forgotten hope. The planet, the core, and the queen, all awakened, all alive, all waiting for what would come next. The twin moons shone over Valora like twin guardians, their silver light spilling across the glowing forest. The heart core pulsed calmly beneath the planet's surface, a rhythm of life that echoed through every tree, every river, every crystal of the temple. Commander Rian and Queen Alara stood together on the crystal bridge overlooking the valley. After the council had witnessed the core's acceptance of their courage and truth, silence reigned across Valora. For the first time in centuries, fear had been replaced with awe. Ryan turned to Alara. "The council will take time to understand what happened today," he said quietly. "They will not challenge the core's choice easily. But at least they saw it respond to us." Alara nodded, her eyes glowing faintly in the moonlight. "Perhaps. And perhaps they will remember that the laws we follow are only as strong as the hearts that guide them. Fear alone cannot preserve life, only truth and courage can." Rian studied her face. There was a warmth there he had never expected, a softness and understanding, a courage that went far beyond the power of the core or the authority of the throne. For centuries, Valora had known nothing but order and fear. Now, because of a human and a queen who dared to act with her heart, the planet was alive in ways it had not been for generations. "You have done something remarkable," Ryan said softly. "Not just with the core, but with your people." He reminded them that courage can heal, not harm. That life is more than rules and fear. Alara's gaze met his, steady and unwavering. "And you, human, reminded me that one heart, even a small human heart, can awaken what fear has buried. Perhaps you were always meant to come here." For a long moment, neither spoke. The energy of Valora hummed around them, quiet but alive, as if acknowledging the bond forming between them. Ryan felt something stir inside him, a connection not just to the planet, but to the queen who had trusted him, guided him, and shared this moment with him. "Alara," he said finally, his voice steady but gentle, "I know what we have done here may be forbidden, but some truths cannot be denied. Courage cannot be forbidden. Life cannot be silenced." She looked at him, a faint smile touching her lips. "And yet this is forbidden," she whispered almost to herself. "The council may never forgive me. They may never accept you. The law says we cannot—" Ryan stepped closer, closing the distance between them. "Maybe laws were never meant to hold back what is right," he said quietly. "Sometimes the heart must lead." Her eyes widened slightly, and for the first time she did not speak. The wind of Valora danced around them, carrying the energy of the core through the crystal bridge and into the glowing forest below. The light reflected off her silver gown, making her seem almost like a being of pure energy. Then Ryan reached out. He took her hand gently in his. "We may not know what tomorrow brings," he said, "but right now this moment is ours. And sometimes the heart must act even when it is forbidden." Alara's lips parted, her glowing eyes searching his. The weight of her position, the centuries of fear and the memory of Valora's silence all pressed against her. And yet something stronger pulled her toward him. For the first time in centuries, she felt free to act not as a queen, but as a being capable of choice, of emotion, of connection. Rian leaned closer, and she did not pull back. The moonlight reflected in her eyes, mingling with the energy of the core. Slowly, carefully, he pressed his lips to hers in a gentle, deliberate kiss. It was not an act of rebellion, not defiance against the law, but a statement of truth. A human heart and a queen's heart meeting, in courage and understanding. As their lips met, a wave of energy flowed from the core through the temple, up the crystal bridge, and into the valley below. The glowing forest shimmered brighter. Streams of energy ran through the rivers, and the animals of Valora emerged from hiding to witness the awakening. Even the stars above seemed to pulse in time with the core's energy. The council, watching from the temple chambers, gasped. They could feel the change, the shift in power that was not of authority but of life itself. They had always believed that laws were absolute, that fear was necessary. And yet, they now realized that courage, honesty, and connection could guide the core more effectively than any decree. Rian pulled back slightly, and Alara looked into his eyes. "The core has accepted this," she whispered. "It recognizes the truth between us. Perhaps it always knew it could," he smiled. "Then we have done more than awaken a planet. We have reminded your people that the right choice comes from the heart." Alara's smile grew soft and genuine, "And perhaps it has reminded me too." The energy of Valora continued to flow around them, filling the forest with brilliant light. The twin moons reflected off every surface, creating a world that seemed almost new. Ryan felt the heartbeat of the planet beneath his feet steady and strong. He realized that humans, though fragile, could inspire change and hope in ways even alien civilizations could not imagine. Ilara stepped closer again, her hand in his. "Do you realize what this means?" she asked softly. "The core has not punished us. It has chosen, and so perhaps has my heart." Ryan's eyes met hers, steady and calm. "I do, and I accept it." The air around them shimmered with energy as if Valora itself approved. The glowing forests sparkled brighter. Streams flowed with a new light. The creatures of the planet moved freely, their eyes reflecting the core's energy. All around, the planet seemed to celebrate the courage of a human and the wisdom of a queen. Ilara's voice was soft now, filled with emotion she had long suppressed. "This is forbidden, yet it feels right," Rian nodded. "Some truths cannot be forbidden, and some courage cannot be denied." Without another word, they leaned closer again and Rian kissed her. It was gentle, full of respect and admiration, a symbol of trust and connection. The light of the core wrapped around them, filling the chamber, the temple, and the valley beyond. It was a kiss that changed worlds, not through power or force, but through courage, honesty, and life itself. The council remained silent, watching. They could see the energy flow, the life that pulsed through Valora, and for the first time they understood. Their fear had controlled them for centuries, but now they saw that courage, choice, and truth could guide the core even better than law. Slowly, one by one, the counselors bowed their heads. They could no longer deny the change that had occurred. They had witnessed something greater than any law. Moran, the High Counselor, stepped forward. "Perhaps we have been blind," he said quietly. "Perhaps life itself cannot be guided by fear alone. The core has shown us the path." Ilara looked at him, her hand still in Ryan's. "Then let this be the beginning," she said softly. "A beginning of trust, courage, and understanding." Ryan smiled. "And a reminder that even humans, though small and fragile, can inspire change in ways no law or fear ever could." The energy of Valora shimmered brighter. The core's heartbeat pulsed strongly, steady and eternal. The forest glowed, the rivers sparkled, and the sky above reflected the courage and truth of two hearts who dared to act despite the forbidden law. Later, as the first rays of sunlight touched the crystal bridge, Ryan and Ilara stood together in quiet reflection. The core continued to pulse with calm energy. The planet was alive, stronger than ever, and though the law had been broken, the right choice had been made. "You have changed more than just the core," Ryan said softly. "You have changed your world." Ilara smiled, her eyes glowing. "And perhaps you have changed me as well." For a moment, neither spoke. They simply stood together, hand in hand, feeling the heartbeat of the planet beneath them. Valora had awakened not just through energy, but through courage, connection, and life. And the bond between a human and a queen had proven that even in the most forbidden of places, truth and courage could change the world. Rian looked at her, steady and calm. "No matter what comes next, we face it together." Ilara nodded, her heart light for the first time in centuries. Together. And in that moment, Valora's heart core pulsed brighter than ever, as if celebrating not just the awakening of a planet, but the awakening of hope, courage, and life itself. The humans and the Valari had learned something important, that fear could control but courage could heal, that laws could bind but truth could free, and that sometimes even the smallest heart could change worlds. Rian and Ilara stood together hand in hand, facing a future that was no longer forbidden, but alive with endless possibility. The core's light pulsed steadily, and Valora breathed again, stronger and brighter than ever before. The forbidden kiss had not destroyed them. It had awakened a planet. It had awakened hope. It had awakened life.